first word is esoteric. When something is esoteric, it's... Alright, so the word esoteric refers to something that requires specialized knowledge. So in a conversation, somebody might use this word to say, sorry to be esoteric, and then they'll continue talking about some subject or some concept that requires a certain level of knowledge in the given field. Next word, superfluous. Superfluous just means extra, really. Can a person be superfluous? So superfluous, yeah, just refers to stuff that's maybe not necessary, or the extra just stuff or extra things in a given context. So maybe, you know, like, oh, I have so much superfluous stuff in my kitchen. Of course, using superfluous in such a casual way like that is very unnatural, but you could do it if you really wanted to sound smart. Acquiesce. Acquiesce means to, like you might have, can I say a line from Pirates of the Caribbean? Something like, he will not acquiesce to your request, or she will not acquiesce to your request. It just means she won't obey or listen or do as told. But it's the same exact meaning, to acquiesce, to accept something, or yeah, to go along with. Angst. Angst refers to just kind of this, like that unhappy feeling, this sort of angry or maybe melancholy, or just feeling like, you know, you're misunderstood. So a teenager, or I suppose a teenager themselves might not use this word, but the parents of the teenager might say, oh, my teenager is so filled with angst. Kitsch. Kitsch refers to, in my mind anyway, just junk, honestly. It's the little things that, you know, might crowd your house, like a snow globe or special little ornaments, or just, you know, decorative knickknacks. You might say, oh, my aunt's apartment is really kitschy. It means she has maybe like a lot of knickknacks, or the style is just kind of... Thinking outside the box. This is a phrase that means just thinking differently, or, you know, outside the norms of regular thinking, which would be inside the box, and then choosing to think about something in a different way might be considered outside the box. So it's usually a compliment, like, great job thinking outside the box, Stevens. The next word is the bottom line. The bottom line just refers to kind of the end-all of the situation. Like in a sentence, the bottom line is we have to make more sales next month, meaning this is the one thing that we really need to focus on. The next word is hit the ground running. It just means to start well. If you think about a runner, of course, a runner, as soon as maybe they touch the ground at a race, they are running. And it's sort of the same thing here, except in a business sense. So as soon as a project starts, they're going. They're, you know, pushing forward on the project. You might say, next week we're going to start the new project. Let's hit the ground running, meaning to get a good start. Next word is giving 110%. It just means giving your all, or making your best effort to do something. So of course 100% is the maximum in a given situation, but giving 110% means that, you know, your boss presumably wants you to give more than your best. So it just means work really hard, as in, hey, we have that meeting coming up next month. Let's give 110% to make sure all of the materials are finished by then. It is what it is. It is what it is just a phrase that often wraps up a conversation. Sometimes it can be a negative situation. Like you hear, oh, sales are down this month. Well, it is what it is, meaning there's nothing we can do, or that's just the situation right now. It's just, yeah, just a filler phrase, really. My stomach's making noise. It's curriculum vitae. Is that how you say that? Curriculum vitae. Vitae.
Curriculum vitae.
Vitae. Curriculum vitae. You might see this abbreviated as CV when you're looking for jobs. Most of the people who are looking for applicants will request your CV, or your curriculum vitae, which is really just a record of your life, your history, often your work history. You might see it written on a job form, something like, all applicants must submit their curriculum vitae to be considered for the position. But most of the time I see it as CV. In American English, though, I should point out that you might see resume instead, which is the same exact thing that's asking for your work history. Next is ad hominem. Ad hominem means to attack somebody, like when you're arguing or having a discussion, but you're not actually addressing what the other person is saying. You're just attacking that person. So you might say, he was arguing ad hominem, meaning, in other words, he was not actually debating the issue, but he was just attacking the other person in the argument. Deus ex machina is the next word. This is a fun word, especially if you like watching movies. Deus ex machina literally means God from the machinery. So anytime you're watching a movie and suddenly out of nowhere somebody comes in to save the main character, for example, that's an example of Deus ex machina. So if you're writing, for example, if you're writing a story, it's typically a good idea not to use Deus ex machina. Your teacher might say, don't use Deus ex machina in your writing, because it seems kind of cheap, right? You know, your main character gets in a jam and then something amazing happens and they're saved. What's the fun in that? The next phrase rather, is magnum opus. Magnum opus just refers to usually a masterpiece or someone's life's work, a huge work. So like maybe Beethoven's magnum opus would have been his Beethoven's fifth, what was that, a symphony? Yeah, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony was perhaps his magnum opus. Hey, there's a sample sentence right there. So if you have a big project that you're working on, maybe you're an architect, maybe you're a painter, whatever it is, whatever's the biggest thing in your project portfolio, maybe you could refer to as your magnum opus. It's your great work, whatever's the biggest thing for you. The next word is alter ego. Alter ego is kind of a fun word. It means your other self. So you might have seen characters in movies that have an alter ego. In one situation, they behave like one character, but in another situation, they behave like someone else, their alter ego. Maybe even some of you have an alter ego, and it bothers your friends when you have, when you behave a certain way with one group of people and a different way with another group of people. That's your alter ego coming out. It's not always necessarily a negative thing, like superheroes have alter egos. So Clark Kent, for example, Clark Kent's alter ego is Superman. It's his other self. He is Clark Kent and he's Superman, but in different situations, he's one or the other. Zany, Z-A-N-Y. I don't need to spell it, they're going to see it on the screen. Zany just means something that's amusing or different or a little bit weird, perhaps. So you might say, my friend is so zany. She bought a New Kids on the Block lunchbox last week. Why was that the first thing that came to mind? The next word is zillion. Zillion is just a word that we use in place of a very large number. So you probably know million, billion, trillion, for example. But when you just want to emphasize that something is a huge number or there's a lot of something, you can say a zillion. For example, there were a zillion ants in my backyard last week. The next word is zoom. The word zoom actually has two meanings. The first word is on a camera, for example. You can zoom in to get closer to the subject, or you can zoom out to get further away from the subject. I think, are you going to zoom now? Zoom in. Zoom out. Okay. Zoom also is an onomatopoeia. An onomatopoeia means a word that sounds something like what it's supposed to be representing. This onomatopoeia means to go very fast. So you might say, I'm looking forward to getting in this new car. I hear it zooms. The next word is zest. Zest means to do something with great enthusiasm. Like you might say, I have a zest for life, meaning you're really interested in life and you have a lot of energy for it. Zest also has a second meaning, which is used in cooking a lot. Like you might take the zest from a lemon, meaning a little tiny particles of something, and put it in your food. So those are some things. The next word is zoology. Zoology refers to the study of animals. You might have it in your university. If you're a university student, there might be a zoology department. So you might run into somebody one day who says, oh yes, my major's in zoology. What are you studying? Lager. Lager is a word that I know very well. Lager refers to a kind of beer. So when you go to a beer festival like Oktoberfest, for example, you might say, this year I'm planning to drink a lot of lager, or a lot of lager beer. It's a type of beer. The next word is wanderlust. This is a nice word. Wanderlust just means that you have a desire to travel somewhere. You want to go somewhere. You might say, oh, I've been seeing all the photos that my friends have been posting on the internet lately. It's giving me wanderlust, meaning I really want to go travel. I really want to be out there doing those things. The next word is zeppelin. Zeppelin. This is a big airship. Oh, isn't there like an Indiana Jones thing where he tosses a guy out of a zeppelin? It's what do we call it now? A blimp, right? Yeah. A blimp. We say blimp a lot now, but zeppelin, I think, was the first word that was used to describe these things because I think they were made out of metal. So, for example, you might know the band Led Zeppelin. That could be related to the first Zeppelin. I don't actually know. Is it? So in a sentence, you might use this to say something like, oh, someday I'd really like to take a ride on a Zeppelin. That sounds like fun. Next word is dachshund. Dachshund, you probably know what a dachshund is. We commonly call them wiener dogs in America because they're long. Sometimes they have long hair too, but they look like, you know, a hot dog. So dachshunds, I think, are popular breeds all around the world. You might say, my friend got a new dachshund. I can't wait to play with it. Yeah. Gesundheit is the next word. Gesundheit is used often when people sneeze. So Americans like to say bless you after somebody sneezes, but you might also hear Gesundheit after someone sneezes. It's usually just used as one word. We don't really say it in a sentence very much, but when your friend sneezes or somebody you know sneezes, you can say Gesundheit. Bass, as in a type of fish, or bass, which refers to someone's voice. It's also a type of instrument. It kind of looks like a guitar. There's also a string bass that's usually a really tall instrument that you play standing up. So in a sentence, when you're fishing, you might say, oh, hey, I hope I catch a bass today. If you're a musically inclined person, you might say, my favorite instrument is the bass. Great, those were pretty good. Next is wind, as in the air, blowing air, and wind, as in like to wrap something around something else. Wind, you might say, the wind is really strong today. I should have brought my kite to the park. Okay. I don't know, every once in a while, these oddly specific sentences. Wind. Like, maybe you have a ball of string at your house, and it's gotten all tangled up, it's really, really messy, and you find it one day, and you think to yourself, oh, I really need to wind this ball of string into a clean, like, tidy ball. Right. Next, tear. A rip in something, like you might tear a piece of paper in half. The same spelling can also make the word tear, which is that drop of water that comes out of a person's eye when they're sad, or sometimes when they're very happy. Use them both in one sentence. Whenever I tear a piece of paper, a tear comes from my eye because I feel bad for ruining trees. Or my friend made me tear up my favorite love letter, and I shed many tears as a result. That one was slightly better. All right. Next is dove. Dove can be a bird. It's a white bird. It often represents peace. And it can also be pronounced dove, which is the past tense of the verb to dive. So you might say, the dove dove into... What does a dove dive into? The dove dove into oncoming traffic. The dove dove into the pond to take a bath. Next is close, meaning to be near, and the other pronunciation is close, meaning to shut, or it can also mean to end. So in a sentence, let's see if we can use them both in the same sentence. Please close the door that is close to you. Because the show is coming to a close. Oh, yeah! Hyperbole. Hyperbole. It's not hyperbole, though it does sound very funny to say that. Hyperbole just means to exaggerate something, or to blow something up, make it really extreme. My friend uses a lot of hyperbole when she talks about her life stories. I really don't think some of those things happened to her. Hyperbole, not hyperbole. Next. Antarctic. Not... Ah, oh, I see. Antarctic is the correct pronunciation of this word. Some people say Antarctic? Really? Oh, I guess when you're saying this word quickly, you might leave out that first C in the Antarctic. So don't say that. Don't do that. Say Antarctic. The very, very cold region. The Arctic is the north cold region on the planet Earth. The south is the Antarctic. There's sort of like almost a hiccup in the word there, Antarctic. Oh, in a sentence, I'm thinking about taking a cruise to the Antarctic. What do you think I need? A penguin suit. Etc. Not etc. Oh, yeah, okay, I hear this ek thing a lot. Etc. is just used at the end of a list to imply that you mean other things. So the list is not exclusive to the things that you've listed. Other things can also be included in it. So in a sample sentence, types of fruits are apples, oranges, peaches, etc. There are others as well. So don't say etc. That's not correct. Etc. is good. The next word is jewelry. What? Not mayonnaise? The next word is jewelry. Jewelry. I think I'm probably guilty of this mispronunciation. I can't say that word. Mispronunciation. Where the word kind of gets a little bit smushed together and we say jewelry instead. We miss that second E sound in there. It should be jewelry. In a sample sentence, maybe you would say, I'm shopping for some jewelry for my mother for her birthday. Jewelry. We're too lazy. Prescription. Not prescription. Okay, a prescription is something that a doctor gives you. When you're sick and you require medicine, the doctor will write you a prescription. Some people might say prescription. Wow, okay. I didn't even notice, and I was doing it while I was telling you guys not to do it. That's embarrassing. Prescription. A doctor writes you a prescription, not a prescription. When you go to the doctor's office, the doctor might say, here is your prescription. Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is an 8th grade American science school word. It's an 8th grade science word. This refers to the process that plants use to convert sunlight to oxygen. The process of photosynthesis is vitally important to the survival of humans. Right? The next word is imperturbable. Imperturbable means someone who can't really get upset or excited. Like it's hard to change the emotions of a person. So you might say, I have a friend who is imperturbable. No matter what we do or what we say, he doesn't get angry with us. Onward. The next is counterintuitive. Counterintuitive is a good word, which means it's the opposite of common sense. So we talked about the word intuitive in a previous episode of Weekly Words, where intuitive means able to sense something or able to do something correctly without having to know much about it. Counterintuitive, however, on the other hand, means not intuitive, or it seems like something that just doesn't make much sense. It's not a common sense thing. So maybe, let's see, something that doesn't seem to make very much sense to you. Maybe on your office building, for example, you have to first push the door and then pull it in order to open it. You might say, the way the doors work in this building is very counterintuitive. It doesn't make much sense. The next word is presumptuously. Presumptuously means failing to observe the limits of what is permitted or appropriate. Oh, this is a tough one to use in a sentence. So anytime somebody does something that's just beyond the limits of what is considered normal in your culture, you can say that they're being presumptuous or they're acting presumptuously. So if, for example, a salesman comes to your door for some reason, but they enter the house and sit down on your sofa, you might say, the salesman presumptuously entered my house and sat down on my sofa. I couldn't believe it. What? Sphygmomanometer? Sphygmomanometer. An instrument for measuring blood pressure. This is a new one for me, too. Sphygmomanometer is this word. Isn't this called really long words that are actually used? I have only been familiar with this word in terms of the blood pressure cuff. When you go to the doctor and they need to check your blood pressure, they'll put this thing, this sphygmomanometer, on your arm, usually, and then they'll kind of pump it up and check your blood pressure. So it's a very technical word. The doctor might say to a nurse or to another doctor, can you please get me the sphygmomanometer? We need to check this patient's blood pressure. Philtrum is the first word. Philtrum, the groove located just below the nose and above the middle of the lips. That has a word. Philtrum. That's this, I guess. In a sentence, maybe you would say, how can you use this in a sentence? Let's see, I'm thinking of getting my philtrum pierced. What do you think about that idea? It's gross. I hurt my philtrum in football practice yesterday. Who says philtrum? Next is larynx. The larynx is the voice box, where your voice comes from. There's quite a definition here. The hollow muscular organ forming an air passage to the lungs and holding the vocal cords. Usually I think we just say the voice box. So I think the larynx in particular is really important for singers and people who need to use their voice a lot. And I think that there are even, special techniques that some people use to protect their larynx as well.
In a sentence, maybe, I have to be careful not to damage my larynx because I need to be performing regularly, and my voice is very important to my job, for example. All right, next is navel. Navel is commonly referred to as your belly button. It's that, you know, for some people it's indented, for some people it kind of protrudes a little bit, but the navel is just your belly button. To use it in a sentence, let's see. Oh, I'm thinking about piercing my navel. I have an example now. Maybe if you've had to have surgery on your stomach that's near your navel, the shape of it might be impacted. This happened to my mom. It's the only reason why I thought of this. When you meet with your doctor, the doctor might say, during the surgery, some of the skin near your navel might be affected by what we're going to do. Next is pinky. Your pinky is the smallest finger on either one of your hands. You can use pinky finger. Alternatively, your pinky toe, your small toe, is also referred to as your pinky. In a sentence, you might say, oh no, I broke my pinky finger. I have a piano recital in 3 days. That actually happened to me when I was little. That's not a lie. That's a real story. I broke this pinky finger. That was a good day. Anyway, next, scapula. Scapula is your shoulder blade on the back of your body. Your scapula. Yeah, what else can I say about that? Your scapula, your shoulder blade. You have two, I think. Yes. Maybe if you're a physical therapist or if you're someone who needs to train athletes, you might need to stretch their scapula from time to time to make sure that it's healthy or in good shape. Make sure to stretch your scapula before and after every workout to make sure that you don't damage it. Anarchism. Anarchism is a belief that there should be no government, that society should just rule itself. So some groups of people might say, let anarchism reign. The next word is altruism. Altruism is the idea that everyone should just be selfless. We should always just act on behalf of other people, right? Altruism is the key to world peace. Feminism. Feminism is just advocating for women's rights, supporting women's rights, equal rights for women, and really just equal rights for people in general. I support feminism, something like that. All right, next is pacifism. Pacifism is the belief that violence is never justified. We should never use violence. Pacifism is great. Pacifism leads to peaceful cultures. The next word is sensationalism. It's all about making a news story, sensational. So even if the facts aren't necessarily true facts, we don't know all the information, the news media might kind of make things up. Sensationalism only hurts the audience because they don't know what's truly going on. Paint the town red is kind of an old-fashioned phrase, which just means to go out and have a really good time. You might have seen it in an old movie that says, come on, we're gonna go out and paint the town red tonight. Let's go. Good. To be in the red. You don't want to be in the red. To be in the red means that you owe someone money. You have debt. Our company is in the red for the last quarter. We really need to improve our sales strategy. Yeah. I don't know what this was. We really need to improve our sales strategy. This will help. Red idiom is a red flag. Red flag is a great phrase to know, I think. A sign that something is wrong. You might say, ooh, that person was acting really, really weird. That was kind of a red flag to me. Mean if I say these things. 5 red flags for me in people. All talk, no action. Always bumming money off their friends. No ambition. No skills, or no desire to develop skills. Another one is, don't know when it's their turn to talk. I don't like that. Watch English in 3 minutes to learn more about developing these skills, these very important skills. Onward! The next is to catch someone red-handed. This is used when you catch someone doing something bad. The teacher caught the student red-handed. He was trying to steal the hamster from the school's petting zoo? I don't know. The teacher caught the student red-handed trying to steal the class pet. Caught him red-handed, right in the middle, in the act of trying to do something bad. That's the key there. The next one is red carpet treatment. Red carpet treatment, maybe you've seen this at awards shows. There's always a red carpet in front of where the famous actors and actresses and producers and film people enter. Red carpet treatment means to be treated very well, to be treated like royalty, really. You might say, oh, we got the red carpet treatment at the event last week. It was great. To be head over heels for someone. To be head over heels for somebody means that you're really interested in them. Maybe you've just met them and you can't stop thinking about them. First love, butterflies in your stomach sort of thing. That's kind of an idiom too, I suppose. He was head over heels for the girl that he met at the party the week before. We're building a story here. We're building a story here. Oh no, our story. What's going to happen next in our story? To be on the rocks. This phrase means to be having problems in your relationship. It means that you're struggling or having trouble. In a sentence, my friend told me about that girl that he met at the party last weekend, and he said they went out for a few dates. Wow, this is all happening so fast. They went out for a few dates, and now they're on the rocks. Okay. Next is to be an item. To be an item just means to be in a relationship with somebody. If you're officially in a relationship with someone, and your friends might say you're an item now. To continue our little story. Even though my friend said he was on the rocks with that girl he met at the party a few weeks ago, it seems that they are now an item. This is weird. This is really weird. The next one is to pop the question. To pop the question means to ask someone to marry you. Yeah. Remember that girl that my friend met at the party like a couple years ago? Yeah, he finally popped the question to his girlfriend. It means he asked her to marry him. The next one is to tie the knot. To tie the knot means to get married. So two people come together and tie a knot. They won't be separated, in other words. So maybe this is the end of our story. I don't know. So my friend ended up tying the knot with the girl that he met at the party a few years ago. Acrophobia, a fear of heights. If you don't like going up into tall buildings, for example, you can say, I have acrophobia. I don't like going into skyscrapers. You don't like to see things far below you. Yeah. The next word is arachnophobia. Arachnophobia means a fear of spiders. You might have seen a movie called Arachnophobia that had a lot of spiders in it, as you might be able to guess. In a sentence, you could say, "Oh, will you please kill that spider for me? I don't want to go near it. I have arachnophobia." Okay. Next word is claustrophobia. Claustrophobia is a fear of small spaces. So if for whatever reason you find yourself like on a crammed train, for example, you feel really uncomfortable and you want to get off the train, that's called claustrophobia. In a sentence, you might say, "Ooh, I don't want to take the rush hour subway. I have claustrophobia and the commute makes me really, really nervous." Next is agoraphobia. Agoraphobia means a fear of going outside. So someone who prefers to stay inside, to stay at home more often than not, might be agoraphobic. My cousin has agoraphobia and he refuses to leave the house no matter what we say or what we do. Keep in mind that some of these words are not commonly used in conversations, but rather what they represent is fairly common, like fear of heights and so on. The fears might be very common, but the words themselves are not. Oh my. Ophidiophobia? Okay, ophidiophobia is a fear of snakes. I have ophidiophobia to an extent. Oh, I did go hiking once. I was hiking and I was actually near a Buddhist temple at the time. It was in the middle of the forest. They were doing a ritual of some kind. You could hear like in the forest. And then as I was walking up the hill, suddenly there's this snake. Like I saw it at the same time that it saw me, and the snake was like, "Oh my God, a human!" And I screamed an expletive. I was like, "Oh yeah, snake!" And it like echoed through the forest. And I was like, "Oh my God, did the Buddhist monks just hear me?" In a sentence, I was on a hike and I saw a snake and I screamed because I have ophidiophobia and they terrify me. Pretentious. Pretentious is a word that means you're trying to impress other people, or someone who tries to impress other people by making themselves seem more exciting or more important or cooler than they really are. In a sentence, you might say, "My coworker is so pretentious. He's always exaggerating his stories to make himself sound important." Don't be pretentious. The next word is ubiquitous. Ubiquitous just means something that you see everywhere. Smartphones. Sorry, I'm still laughing about smartphones. It's a fern that's really smart. You can tell when you need extra oxygen. In a sentence, you might say, "Smartphones are ubiquitous. Everybody has one now, and I have one too." Albeit. Albeit just means although. In a sentence, she was making progress, albeit rather slowly. The next word is ambiguous. Ambiguous just means something that's, the meaning is not really very clear to you. Maybe if you're reading the newspaper, for example, and a sentence is written kind of strangely, you might say, the meaning of this is rather ambiguous. All right, love. Really? Baby, don't hurt me. Love is just that intense feeling where you really, really like somebody else. It could be your family member, it could be a partner, a romantic partner, whatever. It could be a food you really like as well. Just anytime you have that really deep, strong emotion, you can use the word love. For example, I love pizza. It's my favorite food. Jump the gun. Jump the gun means you do something too quickly or you don't think enough about something before you do it. In a business setting, maybe a subordinate makes a decision before the boss has had a chance to decide on something. You might say, Stevens, you've jumped the gun again. We can't forgive you for this one. You're fired. Okay, the next one is drop the ball. Drop the ball means you don't do something that you were supposed to do. Somebody was supposed to do something and they didn't do it. They dropped the ball. Like in basketball, right? If you have a ball, you're supposed to pass the ball to your teammate. If you drop the ball, you let everybody down. My coworker really dropped the ball when he forgot to send that email. We were all disappointed. Stevens. Okay, next, slam dunk. A slam dunk is something that you are sure is going to happen. Maybe you have a good relationship with a client, for example. You can say, yeah, the deal next week will be a slam dunk. You know that something good is going to happen. Next, covering all bases. This phrase means that you plan for as many things as you possibly can. You have some kind of plan in mind for any number of things that could go wrong, or any number of things that could happen. In a sentence, a boss might say to their subordinate, so what's your plan for the event next week? Make sure you have all bases covered. I don't want anything to go wrong. Next is playing hardball. Playing hardball is used when you're just really, really aggressively competing with somebody. So in a sentence, maybe after a business meeting, you might say, oh, wow, our competitors were really playing hardball in there. It was really tough. Live tweet. Live tweet is, for those of you who have a Twitter account, when you are watching something or listening to something as it happens, a popular TV show or an awards show, and you write your comments on Twitter as it happens. That's called live tweeting something. In an example sentence, I live tweeted the Grammy Awards this year. It was a lot of fun. That's a lie. The next phrase is binge watch. Binge means to do something to excess or to do something too much. So now that services like Hulu or Netflix or other TV or movie viewing services, there might be different ones in your country, are available, people like to binge watch their favorite TV shows, meaning they can sit and watch all of their favorite TV show in maybe a weekend or a week or something like that if they just sit for hours and hours. I binge watched all of House of Cards this season. I loved it. That's a true story. Next. The next word is neckbeard. Oh my God, I can't believe we're teaching them this. It's not a very nice word. It typically, I'm going to get in trouble. A neckbeard is a rude word that's used to refer to people, typically men, who do not have very good hygiene, do not have very good personal care habits. And as a result, their beard, which typically on men's faces is maybe in the chin or the jawline, goes onto their neck. In a sentence, there are a lot of neckbeards on the internet. Make sure you don't have a neckbeard. I don't know. Next is fandom. Fandom refers to a group of fans of, it could be a video game, it could be an athlete, it could be a singer, whatever. When you talk about any group of fans, you can refer to them as the fandom. For example, video game fandom on the internet is everywhere. It's so popular, video games are. Maybe your favorite TV show changed direction. The story has suddenly changed and everybody is really upset about this change. You might say, oh, that recent change in the story has the fandom upset. The next word is hyperconnected. Hyperconnected refers to somebody who just always has an interconnection. Someone who always has an internet connection, whether it's their smartphone or their tablet or their PC, whatever it is they might use to connect to the internet. They are always connected. They are hyper means super. You might say, I like to stay hyperconnected, so I always have all the news. Doodle. Doodle is a funny word because of the way it sounds. It just sounds funny when you say it. Drawing something with no plan. We call that doodling. So in a sentence, when I was a student, I loved doodling in my notebook. That is a funny word. Hodgepodge, mixture of a bunch of different stuff. You might say the dinner that I cooked last week was a real hodgepodge of the stuff that I had in my fridge. Next is shenanigans. Shenanigans. I like this word. I like this word a lot. I really like to do shenanigans. Kind of small tricks that you might play on your family or your friends that are just a little bit mischievous. Not necessarily evil, but just kind of tricky or just to be a little bit funny, to play a joke on someone. Maybe your parents will say, enough with your shenanigans, go to your room, or something like that. The next word is skedaddle. Skedaddle is a good word. It means to leave quickly, to go quickly. You've been maybe at a coffee shop for too long and you have to do something else. So you say to your friend, let's skedaddle. We need to go to our next appointment. Okay. The next word is persnickety. Persnickety means that you're too focused on the details. You really like the small, the minutia of whatever it is you're doing. In a sentence, you might say, my aunt is a persnickety person. She always has to have things a certain way. The lights are on, but nobody's home. This phrase means that somebody seems to look aware of whatever is going on around them, but in their head, they don't really understand. In a house where you can see in the windows of the house that the lights are on in the house, but there's no one actually inside. It's the same meaning inside someone's head. It means that they're not very smart. In a sentence, my coworker isn't very smart. Well, he's the kind of guy who makes you think the lights are on, but nobody's home. Next, oh, space cadet. I love this phrase. I use this from time to time. Again, doesn't seem to be very aware or very smart or very conscious of what's going on around them. Their head has a lot of space in it, perhaps. So maybe this phrase comes from the expression to space out. I'm a bit of a space cadet sometimes. I just stop thinking about all the things that are happening around me and go somewhere else in my mind for a while. That's true. Onward! Even a stopped clock is right twice a day. So this phrase is used to explain maybe someone or something who is not traditionally good at something, or someone who is broken or does not do things well, is capable of, doing something correctly sometimes. A clock that's broken and doesn't move will, at 2 points in the day, show the correct time on a traditional clock. So a person who, for example, isn't good at playing sports, maybe one day they have a really, really lucky day and they play sports really, really well. You might say, even a stopped clock is right twice a day. He did a great job this afternoon. This is a fun one. Not the brightest bulb in the box. There are a lot of variations on this phrase. Not the sharpest tool in the shed. We changed this one up a little bit too, like not the longest fry in the Happy Meal. Basically, it just means that the person that you're talking about is not the smartest person that you know. It's used to insult their intelligence primarily. If you think about this expression quite literally, to be the brightest bulb in a box of light bulbs would mean, to shine brightly, to be very good at what you're doing. But to not be the brightest bulb maybe means you don't do such a good job at what you're supposed to be doing. In a sentence, let's see, one of my friends, she's not the brightest bulb in the box. She makes some really strange decisions sometimes. Next, a very similar phrase, a few peas short of a casserole. This is very similar. I've never heard this one, actually. This phrase is, again, to insult someone's intelligence. If you are making food, if you're making a casserole, you need to use peas, maybe, depending on your recipe. And if there aren't enough peas, the casserole will not be very good, maybe. So this means maybe somebody is missing the things that they need in their mind in order to do something correctly. My other friend, Stevens, that guy is a few peas short of a casserole. He should have done some things that he didn't do. Vinyl, as in the material or the record? Before CDs, before tapes, there were vinyl. Vinyl records were, they're about this big, or there were smaller sizes, maybe about this big, people would use to play music. And hipsters, some hipsters, prefer to use vinyl, or to listen to vinyl, rather, on a record player. In a sentence, I prefer vinyl because vinyl sounds more authentic. Skinny jeans, I feel like these are really more mainstream at this point, but skinny jeans just refer to jeans which taper at the end. So the top is bigger, and then the bottom it goes like this. In a sentence, I shrunk my skinny jeans in the wash the other day. Oops, my circulation, I can't feel my feet. Onward, Instagram. Instagram, maybe you use Instagram. This is a very popular application where people can post photos and they can filter the photos to make them look interesting or different. In a sentence, follow me on Instagram and check out my pics. My cool pics. Next is thrift store. A thrift store is a secondhand shop, a kind of shop where you can go to find things that other people have used or have worn before, and you can usually get them for a cheap price. In a sentence, I like to go to the thrift store every weekend because there are always interesting new things to find there. All right, the next word is Polaroid. Polaroid refers to an old style camera, box-shaped. I think you can still buy updated versions of these now. And you'd take a picture and the picture would immediately spit out the front of the camera in a little square, and you could kind of shake it a little bit to make I guess, but the picture would gradually kind of fade in. You would see the picture start to appear. So Polaroids, I guess, are popular among hipsters. Maybe? I don't know. In a sentence, I like decorating my room with Polaroid pictures. I couldn't care less. People will often say, I could care less, but that doesn't really mean the same thing as I couldn't care less, short for I could not care less. It is not possible for me to care.
Want to speak real English from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at EnglishClass101.com.
Welcome to EnglishClass101.com's English in 3 minutes, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn English. Hi, how's it going? I'm Alicia. Nice to meet you. In this series, we're going to learn some easy ways to ask and answer common questions in English. It's really useful, and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn new, more common ways to ask and answer the question, "How are you?" in English. You've probably learned, "How are you?" and "I'm fine" in textbooks before, but in the United States, people will usually ask this question and answer it in a different way. First, let's review. If someone says, "How are you?" you can say, "I'm fine." I'm fine. Here are some other ways to answer. Pretty good. This means about the same thing as "I'm fine." Pretty good. We also have not bad. You can use this if you are feeling just okay or so-so. Not bad. Let's look at our question again. How are you? This is the most well-known way of asking how someone is. You could use it when you want to be polite. But now, let's look at some different ways to ask how someone is. These ways are more casual and much more common. First, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? You can answer this in many ways. If you're feeling good, you can say, good. Good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Not bad. Not bad. Once more, good. Pretty good. Not bad. Here's a tip. Even though these answers mean the same thing as "I'm fine," you can't answer "How's it going?" with "I'm fine." It will sound a bit strange. If you're not feeling good, you can say "Not so good." Not so good. Not great. Not great. Or not so well. Not so well. Be careful. If you say one of these, the other person will usually ask, "Why? What's wrong?" to be polite. Then you will have to explain. Another casual but very common version of "How are you?" is "What's up?" What's up? To reply, use a cheerful voice as you say, "Not much," "Not much," or "Nothing much," "Nothing much." This means you're free and able to chat. Since "What's up?" is just another way of saying hello, you can also reply with "Hey" or "Hi." Now it's time for Alicia's advice. A lot of the time, when we ask questions that mean "How are you?" in English, we're not actually asking about the other person's health. We're only asking to be polite. You should think of these questions as another way of saying hello, a way for the conversation to get started, instead of actual, literal questions. In fact, when someone asks you, "What's up?" you don't even have to answer. Just say, "What's up?" in reply. Welcome to EnglishClass101.com's English in 3 minutes, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn English. Hey everyone, I'm Alicia. In this series, we're going to learn some easy ways to ask and answer common questions in English. It's really useful, and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to ask what someone's job is in natural English. Of course, you can just say, "What is your job?" This is correct English, but it sounds too direct and awkward. Native English speakers almost never say this in a social situation. Instead, they use a different question. But before we master that, we need to compare it to a very similar question. What are you doing? I'm presenting a video about English. What do you do? I'm an English teacher. Do you see the difference? These two questions, what are you doing? And what do you do? Sound similar, but mean different things. The first one is asking what you are doing right now, this minute. You answer it using an ing verb. What are you doing? I'm reading. I'm watching TV. While the second is actually a shortened version of what do you do for a living? This is how we ask, what is your job in natural English? Let's practice this question. What do you do? What do you do? When native speakers of English ask this question, it can come out very fast and sound more like, what do you do? In order to tell it apart from, what are you doing? Just listen for the ing sound on the end of the question. If it's not there, then you're being asked what your job is. So how would you answer this question? Just think of it as if the other person is asking you, what is your job? You could answer with, I am, plus your job. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. Or, I'm an engineer. If you want to learn more job names, go to EnglishClass101.com and check out the core word lists. These cover job vocabulary and more, and include a picture and audio to help you perfect your pronunciation. You can also mention the place that you work at, starting with, I work at. I work at a hospital. I work at a hospital. I work at a law firm. I work at a law firm. If you work for a big company that is well known, you can say, I work for, and then the name. I work for Microsoft. I work for Microsoft. I work for the New York Times. I work for the New York Times. Now it's time for Alicia's advice. When you ask the question, what do you do? And the other person tells you their job, it's polite to make some kind of positive comment about his or her job. For example, how interesting, or that must be exciting, or even, oh, really? Remember to sound sincere. Welcome to EnglishClass101.com's English in 3 minutes, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn English. Hey everyone, Alicia here. In this series, we're going to learn some easy ways to ask and answer common questions in English. It's really useful and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to ask what someone's hobbies are without using the word hobbies. You've probably seen the question, do you have any hobbies? Or, what are your hobbies? In an English textbook before. However, native English speakers almost never use the word hobbies when asking about them. A much more natural way to ask the same question is, what do you do for fun? Let's practice this question. What do you do for fun? What do you do for fun? You can also ask, what do you do in your free time? What do you do in your free time? So how would you answer this question? Let's look at how native speakers would do it. The easiest way is to say, I like to, or just, I like, followed by what you like to do. For example, if you like watching movies, you could say, I like to watch movies, or I like watching movies. I like to watch movies. Or, I like watching movies. And if you like golf, you could say, I like to play golf. Or, I like playing golf. I like to play golf. Or, I like playing golf. You can emphasize how much you like your hobby by adding a word like really in front of like. For example, I really like watching movies. On the other hand, if you want to play down how much you like something, you can say kind of. For example, I kind of like playing tennis. Now it's time for Alicia's advice. If you don't have any special hobbies or don't want to be specific, a good way to reply is, I like hanging out with my friends and stuff like that. I like hanging out with my friends and stuff like that. Just use I like and add hanging out with my friends and then add and stuff like that. Welcome to EnglishClass101.com's English in 3 minutes, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn English. Hey everyone, I'm Alicia. This series explains some easy ways to ask and answer common questions in English. It's really useful and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn some different ways people will ask you, where are you from? First, though, where are you from? Can mean many things. It can mean, what city are you from? Or what state are you from? In fact, Americans ask this question to each other all the time to learn what part of America the other person comes from. Of course, though, it can also mean, what country are you from? If you want to answer this question, there are 2 ways to do it. You can say, I'm plus your nationality, as in, I'm Japanese, or I'm Brazilian. Or you can say, I'm from plus the country you are from, as in, I'm from Italy, or I'm from Thailand. If you're from a really famous city or place, you can say that too. For example, I'm from Beijing, or I'm from New Delhi. Many times, though, Americans won't ask, what country are you from? Or even, where are you from? In many casual situations, they will say it in a simpler way. Where are you from? This is just like, where are you from? But they take out the are. Where are you from? You can use this too in casual situations. Of course, in the United States, as in other parts of the world, people may be a little more indirect because they want to be polite. To do this, they might ask you if you are from the place where they meet you. For example, if you meet someone in New York, they might ask, are you from New York? Or if you are in San Diego, they might ask, are you from San Diego? Many parts of the United States are very multicultural, so asking the question this way avoids what could be an embarrassing mistake. You can answer this the same way you answer, where are you from? Just add a simple no in front. For example, you can say no plus I'm plus nationality. No, I'm French. Or no plus I'm from plus country. No, I'm from Russia. Now it's time for Alicia's advice. Since the United States is very large, people you meet may take great pride in the place or region they come from. If you ask someone about where they're from, they may respond by saying something like West Coast, or the East Coast, or California, or the South, or the Midwest. If they answer in this way, it usually means they are interested in talking more about their region and how it differs from others. Welcome to EnglishClass101.com's English in 3 minutes, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn English. Hey everyone, I'm Alicia. This series will teach you some easy ways to ask and answer common questions in English. It's really useful and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn some new ways to ask someone, what's your name? Including one that you can use when you have forgotten someone's name. Now, what is your name? Was probably one of the first questions you learned when you started studying English. I have to tell you, though, that most native speakers of English would never say this. In English, just like in other languages, it is often more polite to be a little indirect. Of course, the easiest way to avoid asking the question directly is to not ask at all. Just introduce yourself, and most people will respond by doing the same. When introducing yourself, simple is nearly always best. Just say, "Hi, I'm Alicia." To show that you want to know the other person's name, just add "and you" at the end. "Hi, I'm Alicia. And you?" "Hi, I'm Alicia. And you?" Just like before, take out my name, Alicia, and put your name in its place. After you say this, the other person will tell you his or her name. Okay, now let's talk about an embarrassing situation that happens to everybody. You have already met this person once before, but you have forgotten their name. The most polite thing to do in this situation is to apologize and ask again. There's a simple way to do this that's also polite. "I'm sorry, what was your name again?" "I'm sorry, what was your name again?" This sentence is very similar to "What's your name?" but it has three important differences. First, we say, "I'm sorry." A small apology can go a long way. After that, we say, "What was your name?" This is just like, "What is your name?" But instead of is, we use the past tense was. This is really important as it tells the other person that you remember meeting them. You haven't forgotten him or her. You have just forgotten the name. This little word makes all the difference. "I'm sorry. What was your name?" Finally, we add again to the end. This is another hint that tells the other person that you remember learning his or her name before, but you just can't recall it right now. "I'm sorry. What was your name again?" This phrase is appropriate for both formal and informal situations. Now it's time for Alicia's advice. In the United States, it's normal to address people by name in conversation more than once. In both formal and informal situations, it's a way to show respect or interest in the other person and can help you make friends. It is also a great way to practice someone's name so you don't forget it. If you are talking to someone named Anne, for example, instead of just, "What do you do for fun?" you could say, "Anne, what do you do for fun?" You can also put the name at the end of the sentence. "What do you do for fun, Anne?" You don't want to say the person's name too often or it will sound a little strange. But if you practice someone's name like this, you won't forget it. And people love to hear their own name. Welcome to EnglishClass101.com's English in 3 minutes, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn English. Hey everyone, I'm Alicia. In this series, we're going to learn some easy ways to ask and answer common questions in English. It's really useful and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn some ways to get in touch with someone after you have met them once already. In a lot of textbooks, you've probably seen the question, "What's your phone number?" What's your phone number? It's a very useful question, but there are 2 problems with it. First, it can sound a little too direct, especially when talking to members of the opposite sex. And second, people use the phone a lot less these days than they used to. Instead, they might prefer to connect by email or on a social network like Facebook. To start, though, a simple variation on "What's your phone number?" that sounds a little less direct is, "Could I get your number?" Could I get your number? We start the sentence with could, which softens the request. Next say I, then get, and finally, your number, which is short for your phone number. This question is slightly casual, but it can be used in almost any situation. Recently, many people prefer to use email rather than the phone to communicate. Asking someone for his or her email address is also a little less direct than asking for their phone number. Could I get your email address? Could I get your email address? We just took could I get your number and replaced number with email address. It's that simple. Could I get your email address? If someone asks you either of these questions, you can reply by saying, sure, my phone number is, sure, my phone number is, or sure, my email address is, sure, my email address is, or sure, it's, and then say your phone number or email address at the end. By the way, if you're having any trouble with numbers, check out EnglishClass101.com's core word lists for these and other key vocabulary words. Each word comes with a picture, audio samples so you can perfect your pronunciation, and sample sentences and phrases so you can master its use in a sentence. Recently, many people use social networks like Facebook or LinkedIn or an online chatting service like Skype to communicate. People might ask you about these, especially if they are younger. If someone wants to connect with you through one of these services, they may simply ask, "Are you on?" followed by the name of the service. Are you on Facebook? Are you on Facebook? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on Skype? Are you on Skype? To answer, you can simply say, "Yes, I am," or "No, I'm not." If you respond with, "Yes, I am," the other person may ask how they can connect with you on one of these services. Of course, if you're not on one of these services, they won't be able to contact you. If you still would like to stay in touch with the person, though, you can say, "No, but my email address is," or "No, but my phone number is," and then say your email address or phone number. By telling the other person a different way they can contact you, you'll show them that you want to hear from them. Now it's time for Alicia's advice. If you ask someone for their phone number, their email address, or some other form of contact information, they will usually give it to you if you have gotten to know them a little beforehand. If you ask too early in the conversation, though, they may be hesitant about sharing that information. The key is to make sure you talk for some time before requesting this kind of personal information. Welcome to EnglishClass101.com's English in 3 minutes, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn English. Hey everyone, I'm Alicia. In this series, we're going to learn some easy ways to ask and answer common questions in English. It's really useful, and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to ask and say where you live. Usually, someone will ask you where you live as a polite question after they've asked you your name, where you're from, and what you do for a living. They'll say, "So, where do you live?" This is inviting you to keep making conversation. There are lots of ways you could answer this question, but here are some of the most common. You could say, "Do you know?" and then the name of the area you live in. Do you know Twin Pines? Or you could mention a local landmark, like near the library, near the movie theater. You could also answer by telling the person what train line you live on if your city has a train network, or what station is the nearest to your house. On the Green Line, near Central Station. So as you can see, there are lots of possible ways to answer the question, "Where do you live?" Once you've told them, the other person might respond in one of the following ways. "Oh yeah, I know it. I live near there." Or maybe, "I'm afraid I don't know it." The other person is just being polite by showing interest, so you can reply by saying something like, "Oh, really?" Since the other person is asking you this question to be polite, a good way to continue the conversation is to ask them the same question in return. You can just say, "How about you?" Or, "Where do you live?" Put some stress on the you. Where do you live? Now it's time for Alicia's advice. Asking where someone lives is a way to try to find something you have in common with the person you're talking to. So if you're familiar with the area the other person lives in, make some comments about it. "That's a really nice area." Or, "The park there is really pretty." Anything is fine, as long as you don't say anything negative that could be taken as offensive, like, "That area has a high crime rate." Or, "I hear that area is really dangerous." Welcome to EnglishClass101.com's English in 3 minutes, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn English. Hey everyone, I'm Alicia. In this series, we're going to learn some easy ways to ask and answer common questions in English. It's really useful and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to ask someone where they went to school or college. Asking someone where they went to college is a good small talk starter. However, you have to be careful not to offend people if they didn't go to college. We'll tell you how to do this. The question is simple. If the other person is over 22, it's likely they will have left college already, so you ask using the past tense. Where did you go to college? You could also say, where did you go to school? In American English, depending on context, school often means the same as college. If the other person is British or European, however, they're more likely to say, where did you go to university? The answer to this question is really easy. All you say is, I went to university in city. I went to Southern Oregon University in Ashland. If the name of the city or town is part of the university's name, like Tokyo University or Oxford University, you can add the name of the country instead. I went to Tokyo University in Japan. Once you've heard the other person's answer, it's polite to make some kind of comment. For example, wow, that's a really famous university. Or just, oh, really? Sometimes, when you ask, where did you go to college? The other person might reply, I didn't go to college. In this situation, you should be careful how you reply so as not to appear rude. It's polite to not act surprised, but instead make a positive comment like, oh, really? Or ask a question like, did you go straight into a job? Now it's time for Alicia's advice. A good follow-up question to keep the conversation going is to ask the other person, what did you study? Or what was your major? This gives them an opportunity to talk about something they're interested in. In the next lesson, you'll learn how to ask another basic question about the other person, which often features in first-time conversations between native speakers. That's, do you have any brothers or sisters? See you next time!
Want to speak real English from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at EnglishClass101.com.
Hi everybody, I'm Alicia and I am joined today by...
Michael, hello.
And today we're going to be talking about our favorite English words. So let's get right into it. Let's start with Mike.
Yo, man.
A favorite English word or phrase, please.
Okay, so just so you guys know at home, before we filmed this, we each wrote down a few phrases or words, our personal favorites, and we have not shown them to each other yet.
I have no idea what he has.
So, I'm cheating, and I'm going to give 4 words that aren't a phrase, but they're about the same. Anyway, I'll just show you. Okay, lemme, wanna, gimme, gonna. Lemme, wanna, gimme, gonna. So these, yeah, I know I'm cheating, but these are 2 words that they're basically contractions that are used in slang. So like, let me know when you're free, let's go to a movie together. I wanna eat a cheeseburger. Gimme that cheeseburger. I want to eat that cheeseburger. I'm gonna eat that cheeseburger. I don't know why. I'm hungry, I guess.
Are you hungry? I was gonna ask you.
So yeah, those are some of my favorite, and I think these are totally acceptable to use with your boss in all contexts. in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah, they're
thoughts?
really, really common words, aren't they? They're really the natural. So many of my students will say, let me, want to, going to, and so on. But actually, we don't really say those things when we're speaking just normally. It sounds a little bit kind of strict and almost militaristic to say it like that. So yeah, those are really good words if you want to sound more natural when you're speaking with your English-speaking friends. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I took a very different tactic from you. I picked some of the words that I use a lot and that maybe are a little bit, I don't know, unusual to come across. I did one on each card, so bear with me here.
So I cheated.
My first word is gnarly. Gnarly is my first word. This is a phrase that's not, well, a word that's not really so common, but where I'm from, I was born in California, and there's a big surf culture in California, and so this was a word that I grew up with my mom saying and my dad saying. Gnarly is a word that means somewhere between awesome and dangerous. So surfers would use this word whenever they catch a wave that's really, really big. They do like some kind of crazy trick, and then their friends congratulate them afterwards by saying, "Well, that was gnarly." I still use this today. Like when I almost fall down, for example, I'm like, "Oh, that was gnarly," or something like that. So that's one of my favorite English words.
So I'm glad you said that because I just used this, and a few of the friends I was with were from the UK, and they were making fun of me. They said, "Oh, gnarly, bro." I said, "Ah, shut up, shut up." So we use it. I'm from Colorado, and we kind of steal some of the culture from California through the movies. It's all through the states. So I say that as well. But you can also use it, the way I was using it is just like if it's something's really severe.
Yeah.
So if it's like a bad cut or if it looks gross, that's how I was using it.
Yeah.
And they were still gnarly.
No, that's another use for it too. I use that as well. Like, you know, if you just see something kind of nasty looking like on the street or you see, I don't know, maybe a frog got run over by a car or something in your neighborhood, you can be like, "Ooh, that's gnarly." So yeah, it's really gnarly. Something that's just kind of sketchy. That should have been one of my words, sketchy. Anyway,
Yeah, that's it.
sketchy is a good one. Can we redo? Okay.
So I use words, those are all words that I use all the time. And I actually type them out on Facebook. And this is another one I use all the time. One of my favorites, phrase, hang out. Hang out. We use this pretty much everywhere in the United States. Even people in the UK, Australia use this phrase. What I like about it is that you can be ambiguous with it. Ambiguous. It's not one or the other. So if you're going to ask some girl out, instead of saying, "Would you like to go on a date with me?" That's scary. She might reject you. You might say no.
Yeah.
You say, "Hey, you want to hang out?" Just casual. Yeah. Or if she says no, I'm busy. No harm, no foul.
Right.
So I like this. I say this all the time. Do you use this very often?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hang out. Of course, I still use that. Or when somebody asks you what you're doing as well, you can use this for yourself. If you're not doing anything in particular, if you're just sitting around the house, you can say, "Oh, I'm just hanging out at home." Yeah, I absolutely use that one. Yeah, it's really good, really casual, I think.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Okay.
What's your next word?
My next one, this one is one that I said probably a few times already today in front of you guys. I picked the phrase, "Go big or go home." Go big or go home. It's kind of a funny phrase, which means either do something with all of your effort, put everything that you have into something, or don't do it at all. It's used in casual situations. I will use it if I go to a barbecue restaurant and someone says, "Do you want to get the big platter or the small platter?" And I'll say, "Go big or go home," and then we get the big thing. So I love this phrase. I use it all the time with my friends. I don't know, is this something that you say?
Yeah. I love this phrase, actually. When I hear it is from hip-hop. As weird as that sounds, is that it's this kind of like, give it your all. Go big or go home. Don't even try to make it big if you're not gonna give 100%. I love it. And I use it same. I like this as the example you're giving is kind of like a hyperbole.
Yeah.
That it's I rarely use it. I don't think I've ever used it when talking about like my personal dreams and goals. But usually like eating or something like that, you say go big, go home, and they're like, "Wow, hey."
Yeah, absolutely.
So next word
You're
is.
next.
I think next and last. Yeah, this one, I like this one. This is an older phrase. It sounds kind of weird, but we still use it. Young generation, grandpa, everybody. It's going to be a little bit pretentious now that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Ooh. So I like this one a lot because, people, basically what it means is that it depends on the person what they think is beautiful. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. What you see is beautiful, but it's not beautiful for what someone else sees. So a perfect example of this is that in the Western world, we are constantly going tanning. We go, like in California and Colorado, we go out into in the summer sun, even though we know it gives us cancer, and we lay out because we want to be dark, because that's beautiful to us. But maybe in the East, in Asia, they will cover up, like in Vietnam, they'll cover up everything, because the whiter you are, it means the wealthier. The farmers are outside, they're dark. So it's totally arbitrary. I think, who cares? I think either's beautiful. So I like this phrase.
That's a nice phrase. It is, like you say, it's a little bit old-fashioned, but yeah, it's still. I think it's still used today by a lot of people in a lot of different situations. Yeah, that's a good one. Nice idea. Okay. My last word then, I guess, is also, gosh, quite different from yours. Another word that I say all the time, but I love this word because it can be used in almost any situation as long as it's casual. My last word is dude. Dude. Dude is my favorite word. It is. As soon as you said I need to write 3 words, I was like, well, one of them is going to be dude. Dude is so useful because you can use it when you're surprised, you can use it when you're sad, you can use it when you're excited, you can use it in almost any situation as long as it's a casual situation. So it's an exercise in intonation. Yeah. Is dude a word that you use?
Oh yeah, all the time. Dude and man.
Man,
That's what I grew up with. And I learned it from my father. I'd be talking on the phone and with my friends there, and I'm talking on the phone. They don't know who I'm talking to, and I'm like, yeah, dude, yeah, man, yeah, dude, and they're like, who was that? My father. What? You're saying dude to your father? Yeah, he's the one who taught me to say dude.
Yeah, yeah.
I was thinking when you were saying that the practice of intonation, you can say dude, and it's a totally different meaning. Hey, dude, what's up, dude?
Exactly.
It just means friend, buddy, mate. But dude.
Right. Someone gives you bad news. Dude. You're excited about something? Dude. You're disappointed about something? Dude. Exactly. It's an all-purpose word, so that's why I like it. Yeah. All right. Do you have anything else that you wanted to share?
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I think they have a perfect example of how to use dude correctly in all different contexts and circumstances.
It's a very important movie for American culture, I think.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. Those are some really interesting words from both of us. 2 very different people, 2 very different sets of words. But please share with us some of your favorite words. Make sure to leave a comment or email us or tweet us or whatever it is that you do and let us know what you think. Anything you'd like to add?
No, that's fantastic. Thanks. I hope to see you next week.
Bye. Dude. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm joined today again in the studio by
Michael. Hey, everybody.
And today we're going to be talking about our favorite English that we use without even thinking about it. So these are things that we just say. We say just so often, and they come really, really naturally to us. So that might be kind of helpful for you to hear about some of the things that we like to say. So I guess I'll start us off for this one.
Go ahead.
The first one that I've picked, I think I picked really simple phrases this time around. The first one that I've chosen is the phrase, I know. I know. I like to use this to agree with my friends a lot. So if my friend gives me some kind of interesting information, I go, I know, or I know, or something just to show that I'm listening to them and that I agree. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm already, I don't know, like I've learned the information or something like that. It's an agreement phrase that I like to use with my friends. Is this something that, yeah?
Yeah. That's funny you said that, because before you explained like the tone and gave an example of how you say it, I thought of it on the opposite side. To me, it sounded like a kid who's just like, I know, Mom. Giving them like, you need to do this and this and this. I know. I'm trying to think, do men, I mean, these are gender roles. You can say whatever you want, but I'm trying to think. I know. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever said it like that.
Really?
I'm sorry.
Maybe it is a gender thing. Maybe it's more common among women than it is among men. But I feel like maybe it's just in a movie, or maybe it's because of where I'm from, that people will say, like, if you watch the last video, for example, dude, I know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your point about kids saying that is so funny. Like when you get in trouble, I know, saying it like that, it has a different meaning. It's another exercise in intonation, maybe, this word, I know, or this phrase, rather. Okay, cool. So there's one. What's your first one?
So my first word is not really a word. It's spelled a couple different ways, is psh. Psh. So this is something I didn't realize that I do a lot, or say a lot, or whatever, but it's it's a sound that English speakers make that shows disapproval. So I don't know. Like, okay, for example, the kid who's talking to a parent, and then the parent says, you know, you need to do your homework. I know. But no, seriously, you need to get into a good Psh, Mom, whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe the same as like whatever. Psh.
Yeah, psh is good. There are a lot of variations on psh. Whenever you don't want to hear what the other person is saying, you can use psh. Or I see another one that I like to use, PFFFFT. That one's harder to say though. It's not so natural, but I think psh is good. Any sort of p kind of sound, or nah, just any sort of just nonsensical phrase said like that means I don't want to listen to what you're saying. Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. I use that all the time too. Oh, I wish
I didn't use it as much as I did, but
oh, I suppose so. I see what you mean. Okay. All right. Well, onward, I guess. My next word is anyway. Anyway, I like to use to transition between two things, to transition between ideas. I also like to use it when I've been talking for way too long and I need to make an exit from the conversation. Usually I use anyway with kind of a ... at the end, like anyway, and I don't finish saying anything after that. It's just sort of a little sidle out of the conversation.
Yeah. Anyway. So I use this word a lot, actually. I'm glad you said that. Actually, some of my students asked me, they said, you know, what are some good words that connect two ideas or something like that, like a beginning, you know, like first, second, these kinds of words. And I noticed, and I never noticed this before, it actually relates to this question, that a lot of the things that you look up that are transition words, we don't ever use in speech. It doesn't sound natural, but you have to use synonyms, you have to switch it up if you're writing.
Yeah.
Speaking, I say anyway almost every other sentence.
Really?
Maybe I do it too much. Well, not that much, but a lot. I realize that even typing, even business emails, I say it all of the time. Like, it's kind of like, well, anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe because I go on tangents a lot. So for me, I use it not as much as the anyway, ... I usually do the anyway, back to what I was saying, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point about it being used for transition. So a lot of my students are the same way. They'll pick like a really, really formal, almost businessy term to use to transition in their speech, and it doesn't really sound so natural. But something like anyway, or like you said, well, or so, is much better to use in conversation, I think. Cool. Okay. Anyway. Seriously. So seriously, this is another one. Always the intonation. This is our thing is intonation, I guess. But seriously can be said in a lot of different ways. For me, maybe the most common is the same as when you say really. Just kind of like seriously. Like, did that actually happen? No way. Really? Yeah.
Anytime you go up like that, it's a rhetorical question. You don't actually want an answer. Just like wow. Same thing as wow. And then there's also when someone does something stupid and you just look and seriously?
Yeah.
You know, but that's less common. That's, you know, kind of
Really?
Seriously?
No, really. I mean, I use it the way that you just described it to like if I see, I don't know, somebody is walking on the street in front of me and maybe they stop and they don't have any consideration for the people behind them on the street. I might go, seriously?
Maybe you're right.
Whenever, like, is this really happening? Did you just make this decision? Maybe I use it when I'm talking to myself more. Not so much, I don't necessarily verbalize
Yeah, those are fighting words.
Word. Yeah.
Those are fighting words.
Yeah.
So, no, you're right. I think maybe driving, same thing.
Yeah, road rage.
Seriously? Or, I mean, are you kidding me? Well, I don't want to say the bad version of it, but this is what I'm thinking when I'm driving. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You're right. But it's usually to yourself, because otherwise it's pretty aggressive.
That's true, yeah. So don't say it to the other person. But yeah, you're right in terms of when you're talking to your friends and you want to ask, did that really happen to you? Seriously? Yeah, it's super useful. Okay. Is it my turn again? Okay, last one for me. My last one is one I use all the time in a number of situations. I've chosen, I don't know. This is great for, of course, when you don't know the answer to something. But I think when you don't know the answer to something like a math question or whatever, it's better to say, I don't know. But when you use the contracted dunno form of don't know, it just shows kind of that it's not a serious issue. It's not something you're overly concerned with. You're just, I don't know, I don't have an answer, I don't have an idea. It's kind of like saying, you know, what do you think? Or just, this is all I've got, you know? So, I don't know, do you use this? that's how I use it.
No, that's a really good one. The same thing as anyway, I type this a lot. I say IDK, which is the acronym for it. I would never say IDK out loud. Don't say IDK. That sounds kind of stupid. I'm sorry, in my opinion. But you say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I say that all the time because I think it's just a nice way to be humble, really. Because maybe you do know or you think you know, but it's a nice way to be like, I'm not sure, you know, what do you think? It's a nice, it tones down your tone. You don't sound as authoritative, as aggressive. You say, I don't know, do you want to eat Chinese food tonight?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, we can eat whatever you want. What do you think?
Yeah, it's like a really nice softener like that. If you want to introduce, you know, like an offer, if you have an idea about something, but you're not sure how the other person feels, you can just say, I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know, what do you want to do?
But that's usually the thing that they say, I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know, what do you want to do? Okay, just make a decision. We're going to go to YouTube and we're going to watch some videos at EnglishClass101.com.
Wow, nice.
Okay, anyway.
Okay, so that's some English that we use without thinking about it all the time. I think that they're pretty useful phrases and they're a little bit fun too. If you have some English that you like to use from time to time or that you just find comes out of your mouth without thinking about it, please leave us a comment and let us know what it is. And
yeah, so also, this is a tough one because if you use it without thinking about it, it's hard for us to realize what those words are. So if there are any words you hear English people say and you're curious, also leave that in a comment any way you can. And anyway, I think that's about all we have. Anything else?
I think that's all. So give them a try and we will see you again next time when we have more fun stuff to talk about. Thank you. Bye. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Alicia and I'm joined today in the studio by
Michael. Hey, everybody.
And today our topic is going to be our favorite things that we miss when we are outside of America. So let's get right into it. The first thing on my list for today, my list of 3 items, I've chosen ovens. One of the things that I really miss when I'm outside of America is ovens. The ovens that my family has always had in our house are very, very big. You can cook turkeys, you can cook casseroles, you can cook pretty much anything you could ever imagine in an oven. When I'm outside of America, I often find that oven sizes are noticeably smaller, or ovens themselves are just harder to come by than they are in America. So that's one thing that I really, really miss when I'm outside the States. I don't know if this is the thing that plays a big part in your life, but for me, it's a big thing.
Honestly, I didn't notice until you said that because I don't cook. I'm lazy. I just go to the convenience store. I go to like whatever street vendor or something like that, which I know is more expensive, but you know, a true American, I just want convenience, you know. Yeah, but I think most things, like you said, I think that's going to be a general theme for most of us, is everything's bigger in America. Well, actually, that leads me to one. That's a good transition. Let me pick the one. This one. Okay, so, speaking of everything being bigger, space. I miss space. You take it for granted. You don't realize it, especially if you go to some more crowded countries like in Asia, and that's where I've been for the past while. And yeah, most people, you have no idea. In America, it's pretty common, I would say. It's starting to change, but it's typical for 18-year-olds to move out and live by themselves. And that's not true in a lot of countries. In a lot of countries, they live with their parents until they get married. And so I grew up going to house parties. You don't go to the bar. You know, you can't drink legally until you're 21. So you go to people's houses. It's cheaper even when you are of age, as you should wait. But you know, there's always house parties. It's never an issue to have space. Also driving, there's tons of space, tons of room. Yeah, just in general, I miss space. So that's probably why they don't have ovens in some other countries.
Right. Yeah, your point about space is so true, especially that point that you made about the difference between having house parties and parties at a bar at a restaurant.
when I've been in countries in Asia as well, it's nope. I rarely get invited to people's houses. You only get invited to someone's house if you've known them for a long time and you're pretty close friends. At least in my case, maybe my friends are different from your friends. I don't know. But yeah, having a house party is very, very rare, I find. And if you do have a house party, there are very few people. It's not like, you know, big college parties in the States.
It's not a rager. It's just it's like a dinner party.
Right.
It's the equivalent of an American dinner party where it's adults having wine, eating food. Okay, leave, you know. But in the States, I think it's just so common. You rent from a friend. It doesn't matter if the carpet gets dirty, whatever, you know, just there's another house over there. There's plenty of space to go around.
Yep, that's a good point. Okay, great. Well, I guess I'll go on to my next one. You're probably going to sense a theme going on with mine. But my next one, I've chosen cheese. I really like cheese, and I find that it's more expensive, I should say. It's more expensive, and maybe options are somewhat limited. Well, depending on where you travel in the world. We've been talking a lot about Asia, where we have experience. And in Asia, there's, you know, I mean, cheese is available, but it's often much, much more expensive than it is in the States. So that's something that I really miss. I like it from time to time, and just, you know, going to the supermarket or to a department store in Asia and seeing, you know, something that would cost, I don't know, $3 or $4 in the States being, you know, 20 or 25 is just a little, you know. It's just one of those things that you kind of miss about home, a small convenience that would make life a little bit more fun.
Yeah, I agree. I love cheese. People talk about, oh, if I eat too much cheese, my stomach will hurt. No way. I can eat cheese until I die. I love cheese, and I miss it. But sometimes it's hard to really convince yourself to spend that extra, you know, you can get pretty much anything. It's the 21st century. You can go to like Costco or whatever and get peanut butter, whatever you miss. But, you know, to bring yourself to spend that ridiculous amount of money, it's tough. So yeah. Speaking of food, I missed this one. I'm from Colorado, and this is the best food you'll ever have in your life. It's called Chipotle, and it's from Colorado, and it's we have a lot of Mexicans in Colorado, so we have a lot of Mexican influence. This is definitely not authentic Mexican food. This is definitely Americanized. It's huge, you know, big burritos with lots of cheese, mixed rice, so filling. I love it, and it's hard to find that kind of stuff. You know, just food in general, just some real hearty, artery clogging, disgusting stuff that just hits the spot. You know, so
for sure. For sure, yeah, I totally agree. And I guess I'm just going to share my last one. my other word was burritos.
Oh, yes.
It's true, burritos. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we're cut from the same cloth on this point.
Where are you from again? Which state?
I was born in California, but we moved to Oregon. Now my family is in California again. And one of the things, I was recently back in the States, and I ate a lot of burritos. I had this thing called like an extra super burrito, because I thought just the fillings were going to be, you know, I thought there were going to be a lot of fillings, or it was going to be spicy, but it turned out to literally be like this long. They had to use, I'm not exaggerating, I took a picture of it. They had to use two massive like tortillas to wrap the whole thing, and then I couldn't actually pick it up. I had to like lay it down on a table and like pick up part of the end of it to eat it. Yeah. It's just, I don't know if this is unique to our generation or unique to people who are from like the West Coast of America, but the west-ish side of America, but just, man, burritos, there's just nothing like them.
Yeah, I miss it. It's part of my childhood. Not to go on too long, but Mexican influence is growing in America. So you don't say, you know, do you want to have Mexican tonight? You say, let's have burritos. It's taco night. Thursday's taco night. It's just a part of my culture. So I would say it's part of American culture.
Yeah, fajitas, burritos, tacos, tostadas, chimichangas, enchiladas, anything with meat, tortilla, cheese, something spicy. Yeah.
Spicy food.
I always miss those things.
We're true Americans. Just like everything's like food.
I know.
Okay, so let's do this one. Another one I was thinking of is 24-hour cafes. So mainly for the Wi-Fi. But this is pretty common, I think, especially for high school students, going back to like parties. When you can't drink, you can't do anything too exciting. So usually you go with your friends and you loiter at Denny's or something like that. And it's open 24 hours. You just get some coffee and you just sit and talk and you annoy the waiters and waitresses. That's like a pretty, I'd say, normal American experience.
Yeah.
And I miss it. You know, some towns I've been into lately just shut down. It's surprising, especially if it's not the weekend. Just like nothing's going on. Again, this isn't like just America, but it's definitely
Right.
part of my childhood. So.
Right. Yeah. When you